So just because a crime is not violent in nature doesn't mean that crime is victimless.
Mainstream media is desperately trying to paint President Trump's immigration crackdown as cruel and unnecessary. Just watch as this reporter gets absolutely demolished by her own question.
On the criticism that immigration enforcement has become arbitrary or not particularly prioritizing, Democrats have been circulating the statistic that only 14% of illegal aliens arrested under this administration are violent criminals, but we know that in deep blue cities with progressive district attorneys, it's common to plead down serious violent crimes into less serious offenses, which could be distorting those numbers. So given that backdrop, does the administration still stand by the messaging that you're targeting the worst of the worst, and does this prevailing narrative tell the whole story?
Well, thank you for bringing this up, Karoline. I've seen this CBS report floating around. There's a lot of liberal talking heads and pundits and Democrat elected politicians who think that this single story and these statistics and the way they are painted is somehow a shot at this administration. It is not, and let me correct the record. Number one, the Trump administration has been clear from day one that any illegal alien present in this country is subject to deportation. However, the priority, of course, is going after the convicted criminals, the worst of the worst, the murderers, the pedophiles, the rapists in this country. Interestingly, in the CBS story, what the Democrat talking heads on television are not saying is this line. Nearly 60% of ICE arrestees over the past year had criminal charges or convictions. And among that population, the majority of the criminal charges or convictions are for nonviolent crimes. Oh, well, what are nonviolent crimes, you ask? This has coincided with what DHS has been saying all along, that approximately 70% of illegal aliens arrested under President Trump have pending criminal charges and or prior convictions. And these so-called nonviolent crimes, drug trafficking, distribution of child porn, burglary, fraud, DUI, embezzlement, solicitation of a minor, and human smuggling, just to name a few. So just because a crime is not violent in nature doesn't mean that crime is victimless. And I can guarantee every single person who is out there on television right now pointing to these statistics that were taken out of context by CBS News would not want an illegal alien convicted of the distribution of or fraud or DUI living in your community. So the Trump administration will continue our focus on deporting all illegal aliens present in our country with a focus on the worst of the worst criminals. Thank you for being here.
It really blows my mind that the media thinks the real problem is that ICE is deporting too many illegal immigrants. Remember when Katie Couric tried to push that same 14% statistic?
Less than 14% of nearly 400,000 immigrants arrested by ICE in President Trump's first year back in the White House had charges or convictions for violent criminal offenses, according to an internal Department of Homeland Security document obtained by CBS News.
If your daughter gets raped by the guy that gets back out and he's one of the 14%, I don't think you're going to quibble about whether it's 14 or 64. What I'm saying is, if you're not going to,
who are not guilty,
if you're not going to turn over anybody, then that's 0%. I don't think the percentage, it makes a halfway argument to how much effort we have. But if Minnesota's not going to turn over anybody, the whole argument, whether it's 14 or 86, doesn't mean anything.
Notice how these liberal talking heads keep repeating that only 14% of those arrested were violent criminals? Do you see how they choose to use the smaller number to minimize the situation? Because they know people aren't going to actually do the math and discover that even their measly 14% of their reported 400,000 is still 56,000 violent criminals. It's all trickery with their choice of words. And since when did drug traffickers, child predators, human smugglers, burglars, and repeat DUI offenders become the people we're supposed to feel sorry for? Exactly. And why is it that they completely ignore the fact that being in our country illegally is a crime in itself? It's like they want to rewrite laws and definitions on a whim based on their feelings. Remember during the last administration, they were trying to ban people from saying illegal immigrant and were trying to force the people to accept the term undocumented persons? But they want to accuse Trump of creating a censorship state. And did you catch how even in these two clips, they conveniently dropped the word illegal and just called them immigrants? They're not doing that by accident. They know words matter, and saying immigrant makes people picture families who came here illegally chasing the American dream. They know good and well that the people ICE are arresting are in the country illegally, but they have to blur that distinction to make it sound more sympathetic, more emotionally appealing. They'll say and use whatever headline they have to help push their political narrative, no matter how far from accurate it is. And it really amazes me how these talking heads spend all their time arguing over percentages as if we've reached the point to where we're supposed to ignore criminal records just because only a certain percentage are classified as violent. They act like deporting someone who's here illegally is somehow outrageous unless they've committed the absolute worst crime imaginable. But why wait until that happens? I don't know about you, but I'm tired of seeing our mothers and fathers grieving over the actions of people who shouldn't even be here in the first place. And I personally feel like this is all part of some bigger scheme. Just think about it. Biden did what he did. They're demonizing Trump for trying to clean up the mess, while their political candidates rally to abolish ICE. I can see exactly where this is going. I just pray it doesn't. At the end of the day, if you're in the country illegally, you're already violating immigration law. Everything else is just a matter of enforcement. And the left can keep pretending this is about having compassion. But it seems like they don't want immigration laws enforced at all. At least in my opinion. But I would love to know what you think of this in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Your support really helps the channel grow. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.